Excuse the aroma, I'm really not at my best. Not really for the flashy chains and bling, just trying to see my name in the highest book of fame. God willing, feels good to truly love yourself. Freeing your mind and establishing your wealth. Trying to stay humble, I'm steady taking the tumble. I gotta pick up my pace to finish life's race. If I focus on the vision, plant the seed, then my vision will become reality. Just gotta stay on my grind and keep that hate out my mind. The only thing I can find, a loving like yours and mine, your self-worth. Something my mother taught me since birth. All natural, 12-pound city slicker, corn-fed kid, headed for the skies. That's where I keep my eyes, cause one day I'm gonna fly. Live your life and do it right. And like always, keep it tight. If only I could go back and do it again. I'd do the same thing I did before. For if I live my life in total regret, I never ever reach my best. Fly, fly. It's time to fly, fly. Fast on the track,
Self-determination. Racism.
What does food justice look like for members of the Black community in the Triad area of North Carolina?
So when we talk about food insecurity, when we talk about food deserts, what can I do to help this? If I'm an agriculture student, how can I use my experiences? How can I use my experiences outside of agriculture, but just my political experiences or my experiences working with youth? What can I do to figure out this issue or to work within it to solve it? So it's looking at not how can other people help me, but what can I do first to help my community? And then once I'm doing the work, you know, because agriculture is hard. You're hot, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a sunny day, you're outside, you're hot, you're sweaty. Like no one wants to do that. You know what I'm saying? Why would you want to do that when you don't have to? Like we had to grow our own food, but why should I grow my own food when I can go into the grocery store and buy it in the air conditioner? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to be the example. So if I'm out here and it's hot and I'm sweating and the mosquitoes are biting me, but I'm doing this work, I'm an example, and then other people will see what I'm doing and they'll want to help too. So it's not just me having this, you know, bright idea and saying, hey, come and garden, and I'm standing around talking to people. But if I'm gardening with you and I'm picking weeds on my knees, picking weeds with you, then you have a different respect for me and you have a different respect for where your food comes from. You know that it's not as easy as just going and picking up a tomato in the grocery store.
I accepted my role in working with African American youth when I saw that the school system didn't provide our children with certain services that were basic in function. And instead of me going back and forth with an institution and me calling them racist and go up that chain of command, I just decided that we have space, so let's facilitate learning on our own space where we don't have to answer to anybody. And that really is what really helped me accept my role, is just seeing that the school wasn't going to do what the kids really needed. Everything they need, simple stuff.
The type of community I see myself living in is a unified community. I want to see togetherness, and that's from all aspects: Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, East Indian. Like every other race kind of takes care of their own. You know what I'm saying? We can't say that about the Black community. You know what I mean? So you desire to see that. My work influence, if they're not educated about it, how will they know? You know what I'm saying? So by me educating and helping someone to come to understand our value and our worth in the foods and what we're putting in our bodies, that's going to ultimately grant us the food justice that we desire. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't look for the wrongdoing if they don't know what they're looking for. And as far as empowering black youth and sustaining the communities, I feel like if you train a child up to be what you want them to be when you leave. So with me working with these children and these youth, it's like I'm ultimately helping to mold them into the individuals that they will be when they're no longer with me in these courses. So you put the work in. You show them what it looks like. Don't just talk to them, show them.
The beginning of the project. Hoping that by the spring, we'll have all 18 of our garden beds up.
You said 18?
All 18, yes.
Okay.
Along with a custom picnic table that's round under these 3 trees right here, where we'll have workshop for parents. We have a food insecurity problem, and we have plenty of land and space available, and we're not doing anything with it yet. So my goal with this project is to take the land, the space that's available, the human resources that we have here at the school, and actually solve the food insecurity problem by creating a garden space. Not only a space where they can collect food, but also a space where they can collect the knowledge needed for them to grow their own food, and for them to ask for resources, which takes us back to the original case that you had me read before the interview. Because not only are there resources out there for them to actually gain the food once it's grown, but there's also resources for them to gain financial assistance for them to be able to create these resources in their communities and at their homes. This is where we're starting off, but this is not where we're going to end.
As far as working with some of our African American communities, I feel like they don't understand the importance of agriculture and food access. And in so many ways, depending on location of African Americans, they don't see no value in trying to grow their own or trying to eat healthier, make their own produce, try to sell it, make a business out of it for ag business, ag tourism. They don't see, if I go get a farm downtown, I can bring our youth here to see an actual farmer at work. So I feel like we just don't get it, I think, with agriculture. Like we think it's a grandparent's job when it's still as much relevant back then than it is today. More importantly today, because in this zip code, we have a few farms. Well, not even farms. We have community gardens, but this is a food desert, so they don't have access to local foods. But we got convenience stores with all the alcohol and lottery tickets and stuff in it. So I don't think they value as much because they don't know. They're not educated about it.
Food deserts are real. And when I started in Cooperative Extension as an intern, even as a volunteer, I started learning more about agriculture and the whole dynamic of Cooperative Extension, and noticing, like, for example, A&T, it's in the hood. East Market is the hood. The east side of Greensboro is usually the limited resource communities. And then when you think about it, we've only had access to one grocery store, not counting the Walmart that's up the road on the highway. Then you think about when you go to the west side, towards past UNCG, Guilford College Road, and all those areas, you have a Harris Teeter, a Food Line, a neighborhood Walmart, another Harris Teeter, all within 5 miles of each other, and they're delivering. So you think about the shortage of access to quality food markets, not knocking Food Line, but why can't we have more of those options, or nicer, safer food options for us? And as far as agriculture and food, not having the opportunities to learn more about food so we can grow it ourselves, making sure that we have the training for it also.
So just thinking about this case, and you hear different, or I've heard different things regarding the tobacco settlement, and to me, what still stands out about this case, when I look at the statistics and I see the numbers and how this has affected the African American community, and I just feel like even still, the percentages are more reflective and more responsive of the white farmer or white farmer rural communities. Of course, you see the injustice and you see the unfairness that has been done, but I think it's more unsettling for me that this has gone on for so long, and for it to come to the light when it did, and then you just continue to see the statistics of how our African American farmers were treated, and how this has kind of affected land ownership, farming within these communities. So it also makes me, or I often wonder, how this affects farming today for African American farmers. They're not really pushed or not really, I guess pushed, for lack of better terms, to farm and go into this industry. So that kind of makes me wonder, as a result of this, how does that affect, land ownership and farming for African American farmers today? Because even now the numbers are uneven. You don't have a lot of African American farmers. The small farmer typically tends to still reflect the Caucasian community or the white community. So even still, how is this affecting those that are choosing to farm even now as either a hobby or as a livelihood? How have these statistics, how have these numbers, how has this case affected their choice and decisions to farm?
I mean, if you think about traditions over time, each tradition is supposed to be passed down to the next generation. And I think if we eliminate the achievements of the black farmer, that's eliminating a whole, a lot of information that could have been passed on. I mean, we got so many black farmers that you don't even know about did great things for the American economy, but because it was such a small segment, only the Caucasian farmers were the ones who actually got stuff, produced and put out there, where the small farmer, mostly your minorities, didn't have that opportunity before them because of the money aspect. I remember Mr. Sanford, he had some of the oldest equipment, but then again, the farmer down the road who had 200-300 acres had some of the best equipment. So, just looking at the economy and things like that, the Caucasian farmers had an opportunity to go to the market and sell all their products, where Mr. Sanford, he might have sold his in the local market to the neighborhoods, things like that. So we knew there was a difference in the money, and it became, him trying to make sure the community was taken care of, where the other majority farmers were mass producers who were taking care of, other markets. But I mean, even with Mr. Sanford only having a few acres, he still tried to do the things to pass on the tradition to the local kids in the community.
What does self-determination for food justice look like in the Triad area of North Carolina?
I think for me is you have to pick something that that you can help with. And so I was just like, I like teaching. I want to teach something that I'm a little bit more passionate about. So from my brother dying, me trying to figure out what am I passionate about, what can I do that will be beneficial to the world around me. And so with agriculture, that's a lot of things. That's everything that I've been working with, or all of my professional experiences politics, it's youth development, it's inclusion, it's one of the things is agriculture is one of the is it number one employer in the world?
Which one?
Agriculture, or number two?
I'm not sure.
But
There's a lot of jobs.
Yes, a lot of jobs here. So, and so if we can teach, if we can train students on when they get out of school, hey, why don't you, do something in agriculture, or what about welding or things like that. They're, especially with the population that I was dealing with at the high school level, they didn't know what they wanted to do. They're, okay, they probably weren't going to go to college. What about a 4-year, a 2-year degree? They didn't know anything. They didn't know the next steps or even how to get that or to achieve that. And really, they didn't have the reading skills and the math skills to kind of get that. So, how can you start? What can you do? So, I don't know. But yeah, so they got me to apply to grad school, and here I am now.
Honestly, bro, I'm a talker. So I talk to people. I tell people what I have going on, what my visions are, and if they can understand, if they can relate, if they can assist in any way, they assist. And it's like, that's why it's like a lot of I guess you can say, a lot of people in the black community will say, yeah, excuse me, that was terrible. A lot of people will say, yeah, my community won't support, my community is my community. I didn't have that. My community jumped behind. My community supports LB. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm all the way down there to have people to offer, I'll provide all your students with notebooks. My organization will provide all your students with notebooks so they can write and keep up with journal and write their poetry, write what they wanted. So I don't have that color barrier. And that's why I'm a firm believer, bro. Like, you get what you put out. You get back what you put out. You know what I'm saying? I put out positive energy at all points. So I'm all for us, but I'm all for everybody because I believe in one love. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, bro, like I tell anybody, like some of my closest friends are of another race. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, my biggest support comes from another race when I do it for my own. So it's like, that's something that I'm constantly trying to get people to understand, is like, you got to get rid of that color barrier. Like, I'm all for black, but we can say black power 100 times, but let a white person say white power. How you gonna feel? It's gonna enrage you, right? You're gonna be upset. How can they say white power? Well, how can we say black and expect them not to feel any type of way? It's a double standard. We got so tired of being the oppressed, we become the oppressor, in a sense. Because I know a lot of us who literally won't ask for assistance from someone of another race, and if they can help you, why wouldn't you take the assistance? It's not like you're selling your soul. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not accepting no assistance from yada yada yada. And it's like, yo, like, what type of mentality is that? To where you'll rather be stuck here than to get a helping hand and elevate your business so now you can help the people around you who look like you? We don't think that would be a benefit.
So it wasn't until it was my 3rd year doing the summer camp, and that's when I brought in the agriculture component, because I realized that yes, we were now providing more food for them, but they weren't receiving necessarily the nutrition, and I wanted them to receive information, and I wanted them to be able to receive the food. So that's in the 3rd year of the summer camp, I brought in an agriculture component and had them learn about plants and planting in the classroom and what that looks like, and how agriculture is also connected to the arts as well. Because agriculture isn't just food, it's everything. It's textile, it's the shoes, Sometimes it could be the gas in your car. So it all comes full circle. So letting them understand where the materials are coming from for them to use, for them to create art, and the fuel that they need for their bodies.
Well, I was raised up on a farm. You know, we came up in the ministry and the church, everything was related. And, you know, so like I was saying earlier, I had a wholesome background in agriculture. Everything from hunting to fishing, you know, growing your own gardens, processing your own meats. And I had a great appreciation for nature, the skills that was taught in doing that, you know, because, hey, you have to have the skill, you know, and some of that is given and taught, and some of that just comes from having a connection with nature. And I saw a lot of what was being lost. For instance, processing our own food, garden aspect of raising our own fresh vegetables. Those things a bit lost with our grandmothers. Grandmother's gone, grandfather's gone, it's lost. So we becoming a community of people that don't know how to take care of ourselves, basically. But seeing the youth suffer through it, so with obesity, and knowing that, you know, they're not eating health, and knowing that what they're putting inside of them, and knowing that the cycle can be changed. Can be changed, you know, maybe not overnight, but little by little. And that encouraged me to step out and say, okay, let's do some gardening projects. Let's bring some of this stuff back, whether where we live in the city or in the country. Well, let's bring some of this. You know, you can raise a plant anywhere. You can raise your tomato plant. You can, you know, there's so many things that we can do. Urban, when we're living in the urban areas, or even the city, you know. Then, further knowing that so many of our children in our race have never experienced country living or living outside of the city. To have an appreciation for animals and for plants, and to have the knowledge of how nature actually takes care of us, and to have that appreciation for it. You know, they was like, you know, they were born in the community or in the projects or wherever on cement. I just looked at that at the point. And they, you know, as a child, I ran barefooted in the ground, in the sand, and I had a connection with nature, with the animals, with the birds, but, you know, and they haven't. And sometimes the first time they see a farm is at school in a book. And it's sad because sometimes they're only 30 minutes away. And so we operate in that area with that aspect, not knowing the resources that are available to us, healthy, living healthy odds, you know, lifestyles, healthy eating. And we just go straight to the same pattern of buying, you know, stuff that's bad and eating stuff that's bad, and then our work schedules and lifestyles, you know, just make it even worse because we need something quick, something fast.
How do microaggressive and racially discriminative experiences of African American community members influence, if at all, the organizing and educating of Black youth?
I myself haven't had those experiences.
Okay.
I've watched, but for me, I can't say like, yeah, I've been treated this way in this drug. I haven't. A lot of times, the race that treats me bad is my own, and that's the reality of it. So it's like, you get in these situations where everything is kind of racially driven, and it's like, you remember a few years back when Lil Wayne came out and he's like, yeah, all that racial, I don't experience. I don't, bro. Like, even when it comes down to dealing with police, like, I'm dreaded and tatted from my neck to my ankles. but the energy and the aura that I give off, I don't deal with negativity from city officials. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So when it comes to these racial questions, it's like, you would think that I was the one who dealt with it the most. No.
There are quite a bit of experience that led me to our African American youth. One, when I was in high school, we had a black figurehead that was supposed to lead and help the young black men. He didn't do it. He actually was very, very discouraging in efforts to encourage us to go out and do for self. He actually told me and my brother one time that we're going to be running around boys for the white man. A black man did this at a traditionally white school, and when I heard that just gave me fuel to prove it wrong. What really helped us get through that is the fact that we have a strong, what helped me get through that is the fact that we have a strong foundation with our parents. So they were able to help us, like, point out that this brother's mentality had been lost. He's gone on the wrong route. So I was able to, like, really cope with it. But then I thought about when I started teaching and being around young black men, how I would be if I was like that toward them. So that's one experience. Another experience is just me seeing that food deserts are everywhere. In Greensboro, there's the East Greensboro, there's the West Greensboro. And in East Greensboro is where most of the black people live, and we have terrible food outlets. But on West Greensboro, you have all this abundance of healthy food options. That's where most of the white people live. And just being in that dynamic and even being harassed when you're on that side of town shows that this issue is a whole lot bigger than just food access. There's something systematic going on that does truly reflect in food access. But there's a larger issue going on here.
I am in a predominantly black environment that understands that every single person in this building, we all understand that what we're here for, we're here to enhance the education and living experience of black youth and Hispanic youth. That's what we're here for. Every person that comes into this building every single day, that's what we show up for. So because of that, no, if anything, it has influenced it, but it has influenced it in a positive way. It hasn't hindered it. Everyone who brings aid or partners with Harrison Middle School, they know what the demographic is. They know what we're here for. So I haven't had that problem at all. And we've partnered with others, Guilford County Schools. We've partnered with the city of Greensboro to do the Christmas parade. So we've partnered with other people, and they know.
I have seen some racial, I guess, things that has hindered in a way that opportunities, you would wish for more opportunities to do more, but you can get some negative response from folk and businesses, and because they don't always take you serious about you being serious about your health, for one thing, and opportunities sometimes can be limited. You can be turned away. A little bit of indirectness, but you knew it was, So what happens is sometimes it deters you from striving to, go out and get donations or get a grant or work towards different things in that area, because sometimes of the response you get.
What do you feel like helped you to continue to pursue that?
My attitude towards people, knowing that there's good and bad, and how to network, finding the good, and networking with folk where you can get the support from, like A&T, the North Carolina Cooperative for Agriculture.
I have experienced setbacks based off a racial standpoint. And it's kind of hindered my work because what's happened so far is it's been a whole lot of, how can I say, what they like to use the term is play the game. You got to play the game. And I feel like that if you're doing your work and you're really passionate about your work, you shouldn't have to play no game. Like, I'm human just like you are. And because of the historical context, even if you want to go back to the case, when you have people of a different color in some type of leadership role, they like controlling everything. And so sometimes it's hard. Sometimes they tell you they don't understand why you're doing the work you're doing and why you're working with a certain group you're working with, and try to dictate how you should work with that group. So it's kind of, yeah, I would say it's definitely has some type of hindrance.
By the population not being as diverse, you know, I was asked a long time ago, could I teach at a predominantly minority high school? And I said, you know, I could sell this anywhere, the things that I do, because I got a passion for it. And I was asked to go start a program somewhere at another high school and see how that would go. But once I looked into it, those kids didn't have the drive. They didn't have the desire to have anything ag related. They called themselves inner city. So coming in there to them and bringing an ag background was something they didn't grasp onto. So I had to weigh in between, you know, do I want to go there or do I want to stay where I currently feel like I can, you know, even though the population is not as diverse as I want it, the kids I can impact here will listen to me. They want to be a part of it, and some of them have it in their background. So I felt at that time, instead of going to a more African American diverse school, stay here and teach the ones who actually wanted to be a part of it and push them to do the best they could be. So I mean, there's been some roadblocks because, you know, of a class of 20, I may have 3 or 4 African Americans, and out of that, probably 1 or 2 actually wants to be in the class. The other 2 might have been just put in there. But I mean, even though they might have been put in there, I'm still gonna push them to get to that next level.